Here, please. This is good.
Don't worry, I don't
We can
let it
also
get
give you-
far, I don't let it get too far away from
Give you
me.
some chocolate bark also.
Linda loved it, it was delicious.
Next time I'll make it thinner, that way I can have more of it.
Oh, no, make it exactly.
You like it that way?
Oh, absolutely.
It is better.
Oh,
You'll see, you'll
plenty,
see.
plenty, it's good. I like it thick.
No, but people put layers of things, like I want to put dates and then nuts and then chocolate.
On the same chocolate,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, they do also.
Wow.
But I have to have him eat it. I know he likes
My
it.
favorite is the
The crazy.
cranberries, yeah, craisins.
Okay, we
We left up.
opening vessels,
216.
right.
It's still early.
Right.
16.
216 is where we left off. Mhm.
I just want to tell you. It's so here, about opening can.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Yaakov.
Oh, so we're still doing
Good
that.
evening. Hi.
I guess I
So
have
you
to
best-
finish this, but I see
you best in that.
it
Yeah.
continues to go on. There's, I think only
There's a lot of
one.
material on this
Right,
subject.
so,
I thought it was soup, sorry, I was gonna
Thank you.
split them up for you.
yeah. Oh, here, no, there's so, I thought they were done with it, but I see that they're gonna talk about opening cans of drinks and,
No, we didn't get this.
yeah,
Over
we're
here.
in the meat of it. How are you doing?
Hashem, fine. Glad to be home finally. We were gone for about a month.
Oh, wow.
Where were you, Yaakov?
On the East Coast, Toronto, New York, Houston. I guess Houston's not the East Coast, but Miami. A lot of different places.
Uh-huh.
But, Baruch Hashem. Finally home.
Hi, Mario.
Hello.
Mhm.
Mario, it's Saul.
Yes, so
Remember when they did Shark Fill, it must have been for a Hanukkah boutique, they set up Kenner Hall and you were selling watches?
say it again.
Turn it so.
How long ago was it when Shard Filler did a Hanukkah boutique and you were set up selling
Oh,
watches?
a long time ago, like
How long ago?
15 years.
Oh, it has to be more, has to be more than that.
Wait a minute. I was in the business still. So around 25 years then.
25 years.
Yeah. Why?
He's still wearing the
I'm still
watch.
wearing the watch that I bought from you.
Oh, I'm happy. It's working.
I never had trouble.
We are on page 216. Last week, we went through the
Thank you.
sources of that we need to know about, is there Shaviras Kalim, is there all the various fundamental makorot to be able to answer the questions we're going to deal with today. Right? So against the backdrop of the sources we have seen, let us now consider whether it is permitted to open cans of food on Shabbos. Would this qualify as building? Because opening the can renders the can now a usable utensil, which may be easily used for both removing and placing items. Might this constitute dismantling because opening the utensil is considered destroying it? Or might it be entirely permitted? The Tehillah David maintains that a sealed can has the status of a utensil since it stores the contents. Since it no longer can be used in this manner when it's opened, opening it is actually destroying it. and it constitutes the malacha of dismantling. V'yetzei lanu midivrei Magen Avram b'fidelich sardelin, with like sardine cans, shehem kelim gemurim. He understands it that they're kelim and asur lifatcham b'Shabbos. You can't open them. After name sheikar asit hafidelich, even though the cans were made primarily kadesh yigmru betocham hasardelin, so that the pickling of the sardines will be completed there. Mikol makom kevin shem kelim gemurim, they're righteous kelim. Asur lefatcha mishum soiser deraisa. You're not allowed to dismantle a building. And last week we learned that kelim are like buildings. So there's binya, and we had a machlokas whether there's binyan and stira by kelim. So according to the chumrah that we hold that there's binyan and stira by kelim, this is soiser deraisa. Dimash medubakim ashulaim vatfanos be'aver. The bottom and the sides of a sardine can are sealed with lead. Pshita de lo mikri nishbara. Vidovik shvare bezefes. It's not like that it's broken and put together again. V'adiv tfei memechur b'al yedei chashukim. It's like when you patch something together by latches, so maybe then it would not be considered like it's such a kli gomor. But because these are real, it's sealed, then it's a real problem to break it open. Last time we had a heter of a mustaki, where the barrel was sort of held up just with latches. And there was less of a problem with stira. The Chazon Ish also forbids opening cans of food on Shabbos, which in his time had to be cut with a knife. However, he disagrees with the reasoning of the Tehillah LaDavid and explains that opening such a vessel does not constitute dismantling, but it violates the prohibition of building an opening, making an opening. Kufsaot shel shemen or shel dagim, cans of oil or fish. Ha'asuyin mitase barzel, they're made out of metal slabs. Uritzufim mikol tzad, they're completely sealed. V'chotchin b'sakin etatash ala pesach. On the top, you open it up with a knife. U'mokom asafek b'zehu b'she'ein daito ala kufsa. He's not opening this can so now that he's going to have an empty can to use to store things. That's not his kavanah. His kavanah is lahotzi masha b'sochel l'zorcha ba'ashpa. He's opening on this can. He wants to take out the sardines and throw away the can. Omnam yesh le'asor mishum gzeira dilma yichavin l'shem pesach. So it's a gzeira that he's prohibiting. What is it, a collector?
Not now. Just go, keep on keeping.
Yesh le'asor mishum gzeira dilma yichavin l'shem pesach. He's going to make the opening careful, and then you're making a real opening. That means most people would just open it up and sort of do it in a destructive fashion. But there might be people who, on being told that it's permitted to open it, will do it in a very careful way. People will use this container to put soap or nails. And how about this? There's a lot of sardines in the can. So you're not going to eat all the sardines. So you're going to leave some sardines. Well, you're using now the kli in a way as a kli. You're happy that, and you'll cover it with a silver foil on the top, but you've made a kli. Ve'efsher da'af bedaito lezorka ein mischar shvim im kavanaso. Even if you're going to dispose it, after you take the fish out, so it's irrelevant his intent. The lo matzinu heter shvira ela b'yesh l'chavis pesach. You have a heter to break something open if the barrel has another opening. But if there's chalul bifnim, but if there's a hollow space inside of the kli, b'sasumi kol tzad, and it's sealed all around it, kol she'ois pesach chashav binyan. If you make an opening in such a vessel, it's considered that you did binyan. Umiu mishum stiras kli leka. He disagrees with the hilas, the tehillah LeDavid, that you're over the malach of sisira breaking a kli. Kan she'en kan soiser klal, because you're not destroying it. Shabticha tikun, the opening that you've made using the knife to open it up and take the fish out, you haven't destroyed things, you've made it better. An object sealed on all sides is not called a kli. When it's pesach, now it's a kli. Now that you have an opening in it, now you have a real kli. The Hilchos Shabbos clarifies that according to the Chazon Ish, one may not open cans of food if one intends to reuse them after the original contents have been removed, since one thereby has constructed a vessel. The Hilchos Shabbos adds that based upon the wording of the Chazon Ish in the previous source, it seems that there are three reasons to categorically prohibit opening cans of food on Shabbos. Even if someone is not intending to reuse the specific can that is being opened, one might come to open cans at other times when one does intend to reuse them. 2, someone might open the can, use only some of the contents in the can, and that person desires to use the vessel to store the remainder of the content. Even if one intends to dispose of it, one has created a usable vessel since it was sealed previously and it's now open. Look at the picture, cans produced in a juice factory in Gan Shmuel, 1952. These are likely the types of cans referred to by the Chazon Ish.
I remember those cans where you had to actually use a knife to open it. It was a little between the top and the rest of between the lid and the rest of the can. There was like a layer of cardboard around it, and you cut the cardboard to open the can.
Now, in contrast to the understanding of the Hilchos Shabbos, the Piskei Teshuvah cites some who understand that even the Chazon Ish only forbade opening cans in similar containers when many people save and reuse such cans. But when the vast majority of people dispose of them, opening them would not constitute building. Kama Mechabrei Zmanenu, the Piskei Teshuvah says that there are a number of modern authors. Kasu shel divrei Chazon Ish hu adin b'nidon didan yesh lachmir gam she'ein mi she'yachzik arizot l'shimush chozer. That according to Chazon Ish, you should be machmir, even though no one reuses the containers. V'hu b'chlal dvar, that's what it comes out when he says, ve'efshar da'af b'daitu l'zorka mishchajim min kavnosa. That's what he meant to say. We don't care about his intent. The lo metzinu heter shvira el b'yesh l'chavis pesach, unless the kli already had a different opening. Aval if b'sham chalul b'fnim v'sosim mikol tzad kol shaz lo pesach chashiv binyan. He did consider it binyan. Shemach kuf otam l'tzras kli. He has converted something that's completely sealed to a kli. He says, "Omnam shar machabrim hifrichu divreiim kedemuchach b'merutzav l'shon Chazon Ish." Other authors say that no, that if most people are dumping these cans after opening it, it's not an issue. The footnote 17, the Piskei Teshuvah, refers to the Masech debates, so cited by the Chazon Ish, in which case the vessel under discussion is normally reused. And the Chazon Ish comments on this, even if it's not reused, one may not open it on Shabbos. It seems that if most do not reuse it, it would be permissible to open it. So the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa writes that even in accord with the more stringent understanding of the Chazon Ish, one may still open a can of food if one first makes a hole in the bottom of the container, right? We convert it to a case of like the barrel, where we said if a barrel already has an opening to it, you can open up the container. In this case, if you made a hole in it first, subsequently opening the can does not constitute building, since the functionality of the container is substantially impaired once the person perforates it from below. Gam l'das ha'oisrim, even according to the prohibitors like the Chazon Ish, im nikev et hakufsa, if you made a hole in the can, o kara et sakit, or you tore the bag, o et hakufsa, or the box, or the package, bitsida, you made a hole in it from the side, or betachter on the bottom, over l'ptichata, before you actually open the top of the container, kach shlote od ru'i l'shimush b'tor kli. You're not going to be able to use this thing as a kli, litin labah, to put things and then less lanba, so there's no problem. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach agrees with the Tilal of David that a closed can of food is treated as a vessel even before it's opened. But he argues that opening cannot be defined as dismantling, since the can has no intrinsic worth, as it's normally thrown out. Therefore, Shlomo Zalman Auerbach rules that it's treated as a mustaki and one is permitted to open it. The Rav Shlomo Zalman is in the Shmir Shabbos. Ume'agon Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach shamati tam leheter. He heard a svara to be lenient. The mistavish estimas kufsas at sardinim, the beis charoshes, the closed can of sardines in the factory. He lemantucha litkaim yamim. What's the whole point? Is for the sardines to be able to be preserved a long time. The gamla efshar tavarata ochel makom echad l'sheni. What's the other point of packaging sardines in a can? So you can transport it from Norway to Los Angeles. Now, when the factory seals the can, you can't do anything with it. You can't get the food out or put something in it. Sealing it on Shabbos is called building it, not dismantling. Since usually with a can of sardines, after you open it up, you take the sardines out, you throw the can away. Mistaber dechoshev kli ra'ua. It's considered a damaged kli. Ukechavi shel mustaki, like a barrel with those latches on it. The afshe ein shlema, even though it's not complete. Ushver mudok meidei zefet, and the pieces of the barrel were connected with like pitch. Because malko mashma shayi regilim yishtamish b'harbe pamim. They still use that type of barrel many times. Even so, says the Rav Shlomo, you can break open to it, you can make a hole in it. There we don't make a gzera like the Chazon Ish suggested. Oh, if we allow you to make an opening, you're going to make a very careful opening. We see by the Gemara we quoted last week that you can open up a mustaki type of barrel. It should be the same analogy to what we're dealing with. Hachanami b'nidon didan, here as well. This can of sardines is meant to be opened and thrown away. Where we've seen that it's prohibited to break or make a hole. Then, after you took out whatever you were taking out in that container, you're going to use it again. But these things are not meant to be used again. It's the normal fashion where you throw it away. After you take the food out, you throw it away. You notice he doesn't say anything like the Shmir Shabbos said about putting a hole in something before you open it. He just says you're allowed to open it because you're going to throw it away. Now, for example, a cereal box, right? I mean, you're not going to throw that away. You open it and then you use it again and again. You store it. So there we have to, he's now talking about
Yeah.
like a one-time use can.
Like sardines. You're throwing it away.
Right, but how about a gefilte fish bottle with gefilte fish in it? Okay,
Jar, you mean?
Yeah,
a jar. Once you
Jar.
open it, you're gonna use it. You got 10 gefilte fishes in it, you're gonna use one. So we just have to keep that in mind. They're gonna deal with it, but you have to keep that in mind.
You don't, can you punch a hole in before you open it?
Which,
Cranberry sauce.
oh, yeah?
Yeah, because it won't slide out. You put a little hole in it, it comes right out.
However, even Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach agrees that one may not open a can with intent to reuse it, as that is considered fashioning a vessel. Shomati Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Even though, what was the whole point of the can? It was to preserve the food. Well, now that you've opened the can, you've sort of ruined the whole purpose of the kli. It's not capable of preserving the food anymore. You also can't you can't transport this can of sardines anywhere. It's open, it's going to pour out, it's going to be disgusting. Why is he bringing that up? Because he's trying to say, what was the whole point of the kli in the first place? To preserve food and to transport it. Well, you've ruined both of those things. So why should we be concerned? He says, okay, you've now changed its functionality. What are you going to do now? Take things out and put things back in it. Shapir chashiv kois a kli. So you've now fashioned a kli. Ulam l'daito kol zedavka kasher miskav l'ishtamish b'kusa gam achrei shotzi tochel mitocha. But then a person's kavana plays a role. If his kavana is to retain that kli and use it to store whatever is going to be in there, or even take everything out and put new things in there, that's going to be a problem. Avam loin kol kavana so b'plichas kufsa kedei l'zorko miyad im harei kasad kan varav. But if the intent was to throw it away right away, then we have the leniency of Rosh Shlomo Zalman. The Yalkut Yosef, the name of his father, Rav Ovadia, rules similarly. However, he recommends opening them before Shabbat. Siyaso Chazon Ovadia, where Rav Ovadia Yosef subscribes to this position as well. Another Sephardic authority, the Menucha Sava, writes that one may open cans on Shabbos, even l'chadchila, and it's entirely unnecessary to do so prior to Shabbat. But the Yalkut Yosef says, "Meikra din muter liftoch b'Shabbos kufsaot shimurim." You can open up preserved cans. If you could do it from Erev Shabbos, better to do it Erev Shabbos. Nimtzav sharova poskim matirim, af b'kli sholem. Most of the poskim permit even a whole vessel. Af l'divrei Shulchan Aruch yeshlom shekufsos shimurim v'kufsaot shel sardinim. But cans of canned goods or sardines that are used one time only, v'lo yoser. As tochanan nizrakim lashpa, are those where after you remove the what that is which contained and you throw it away, he says unequivocally you can open it up on Shabbos like the Shlomo Zalman. According to some poskim, the case of chotalot, kind of baskets discussed in the Gemara, demonstrates that opening canned goods on Shabbos does not qualify as building. Tanya Chada, chotalot shall grogrois. These are wicker baskets of dried figs, v'shel tmorim or dates. Matir mafkiv v'choitech. You can untie the baskets, not unbraid the basket and cut it open. According to this approach, opening cans and other packages is permitted if one disposes of them, just like cutting open the wicker baskets to remove the food is permitted by the Gemara. We will discuss additional practical application of this case later in this year. It should be pointed out that some poskim do not see this case as a precedent to allow opening cans, because the baskets discussed in the Gemara cannot be used a second time once they are cut open, unlike food cans, which certainly could be reused if one wishes to do so. And while some poskim have noted that these items are not often reused as they once were, nonetheless, even today, many people do upcycle metal cans or use them for crafts and other purposes.
I would disagree with the many. Yes, some people do, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah,
Pretty
especially
rare.
sardine cans.
Yeah, I mean, what could you do with that? Can't even use it for crafts.
Moshe Feinstein takes this approach, but he concludes that practically one should not rely on it because some people are also ultimately likely to be lenient in cases that are forbidden. Let's see what Rav Moshe is talking about. Nimsa ladina she'elu ha-cans, right? He's talking about cans, like cans of sardine. V'chein zucker. V'chei gavna shar minei oichlim shenimkorim chavilos kruchim. Like he's talking about CNH sugar that are in those paper packages. Shenimkorim chavilos kruchim b'sak shel niyar. They're made out of paper. Shenasa rak b'shvil elo menochim sham. The CNH sugar package is just made for sugar. It's made for that which is there. And then once you're done with it, you throw it away. When you're finished taking out all the sugar, you're going to throw it away. He says, you can then break and tear them open based on the Shulchan Aruch. This is similar to breaking nuts, which is what we're in these chotalot. He's talking about packages that are ruined when you open it up. You can't really use it to put anything in there. That's he says Meikar Adin. Avalamaisa ein latir kivin shebnei Torah muatim b'nusei rabim. There's not a lot of bnei Torah. And ayin b'Shabbos tav kum lametesh b'mokum she'en bnei Torah yesh dvarim she'en lahatir k'dei shelo yavo lahakel. Sometimes Rav Moshe points out, the Gemara says we shouldn't be lenient because people will come to be extra lenient. V'roa ani seichel shekein b'zeh. He thinks that's the case here. He says he lived in New York. He says our country is there's a breach of standards. He says you shouldn't tear a cloth bag. So he says Meikar Adin it's okay, but he doesn't want to be matir because he thinks people are going to go too far. The Shmir Shabbos Hilchos recommends opening all cans and packages before Shabbos. If one did not do so, it is forbidden to open cans or containers if they are often reused, unless one first destroys them, like we said, by making a hole in it. Ultimately, regarding cans, which are not usually reused, the Shmir Shabbos Hilchos acknowledges that the matter is subject to a dispute. He says, "Lechatchila, roy v'nachal niftoch mivad yomes kola miachlim hachatumim." You should open up your cans erev Shabbos. Shebet chulasami ratzei shtamesh b'Shabbos v'yontiv that you want to use on Shabbos and Yontiv. Uviklal zakuf saot karton shebein mashke. Juice boxes that have, apple juice or orange juice. Kuf saot shemirim, canned goods. Ubakbukim, bottles. Whose cap breaks in its lower part. That means the cap becomes separated from the ring, right?
No,
You have
soda.
any container of liquids, they have those caps that it breaks the ring stays below. So he says that's a problem. If the cap becomes separated from the ring, you shouldn't open that up on Shabbos. You should do it erev Shabbos. Because now it's fit for reuse. Then he says kuf saot, sakiot va'arizot karton. He says containers, bags, and other things that are reused. You can't open them. Afilu imhu atzmo ein bedaito lishtamish behem od shimush nosam. Even if his intent is not to use it again. Shalu al yedei ptichatam im nasim kli, because by opening it, you've made a kli. Vein heter liftoch sakufsa, o tasak, ela im ken yakakel im tchilit. You can open any of these things if you've made it unusable by making a hole in the bottom of it or the side of it. V'yavir et hatchula l'kli acher, and you move the contents to another vessel to storage. Gam kufsaot v'sakiyot shebederech klal ein regilim lishtamish behem. If you open up a can or a bag that you're not going to reuse again, achrei ptichatan v'otzat tuchlatan, if you take the things out, he says lechatchila en lepoislam b'Shabbos v'yontiv mikevan shekayemet efsharut lishmor behem es latuchlam ptichan. You could now use the bag that you're opening to store things in. For example, you're not going to take all the food out. And even if you're going to remove everything right away, so you should not open canned goods. He says, he says there are those that are permitted. And pachiot mashkeh, drink cans. Sakiot va'arizot ka'ela, bags and packages, she'ein regilin lishtamish b'hem shimush chozer. Well, you're not going to reuse it after you remove what's there. And you open it in a way where you didn't make a good opening. If you're going to reuse it, you can't do it. But but I guess if you're not, so the only issue is like a can of soda, which has that flip thing where it makes a nice opening. So that could be a problem based on this. That means if you have a can of soda and you open it up with a knife, when you make an opening and you pour it out, that's not going to be a problem.
What happens if you like only do half of it? In other words, it's not a good opening.
Okay, maybe that's another idea.
But what happens with packets of stuff? With packets of, let's say, packets of crisps or something like that you open up and there's a ladder there and you go through the ladder.
We're going to deal with that later.
Under the rule of Pukhazi, let's see what the people are doing. I think this ship has sailed. I mean, I remember the phases. I remember 40 years ago when people were making holes in the bottom of cans. I remember there was a dispute, but I haven't been in anyone's house who doesn't open a can. That's just the way that people people conduct themselves.
Right, and they're using the heter of you're using it one time and you're throwing it away.
Right.
There's no intent to use it, and you're using it, and there's no attempt to reuse it.
Nobody reuses cans. Nobody stores stuff in cans in the fridge because it doesn't taste good. We figured that out with Tupperware and with Rubbermaid. I mean, this is an era that the ship has sailed. It's just
but an orange juice bottle
do.
to open that on Shabbos, you probably shouldn't, because now you've converted it to a kli that you can open and close. No, but a one-time use
Soda bottle.
and a soda bottle might be the same thing, but a can of soda is different.
But who's going to reuse? Who reuses soda bottles and orange?
But a soda bottle that has a screw cap,
People do.
you use half the bottle, you screw it back, and you put it back in the fridge.
Yeah,
So that's a bottle. I would say a can is going to be an easier thing to consider, because it's one-time use and you're going to throw it away and no one uses that. I would say even if you crunched it a little bit,
but you're not making
you're makalkel it.
But you're not making a kli out of it. The kli is there. You're not making a kli. You're not using it.
Oh yeah, you. I'm not sure you were with us in the beginning.
Yeah.
The kli, a sardine can.
No, I heard
is sealed, so it's meant to preserve the food and to transport the food. Now that you opened it, now you've changed it into a new kind of kli.
Yeah, but
Kind
when
of kli
you
is
open, when
to
you
get
open,
access to the food and put the food back into it.
but hold on a second. When you open the soda bottle, when you've opened it, you've been makalkel the soda anyway. The soda goes off. You can't keep the soda forever. It just doesn't. It's
Well,
the
it's
same.
forever, but it's not. But you put the cap back and you put it back in the fridge.
People
So
think-
you've made that kli.
Most
That's
people-
why they're advising you to do that Erev Shabbos. No problem. You do it Erev Shabbos. And then you close it. You
repurposed it, really.
but you did that Erev Shabbos.
No, no, no.
No,
But you're-
once you take soda.
Once you open the soda bottle on Friday,
No, but let's see.
and now you closed
We're
it,
not talking
and you
about
put it back in
Friday.
the fridge. You haven't done anything on Shabbos.
We're talking about
Open
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
You open it on Shabbos.
Get half of it and then recap it.
That's the problem.
You've refurbished.
Of course, that's a problem with it. Walter is struggling with that, but it's unfortunately that's what we've learned tonight.
And most people do.
Again, this is not what people do.
That's
I
not what
mean,
people do.
This is all.
I
this
never
is
heard
all
that people don't. I've not seen that. That like Yaakov says the same thing. I mean, even in you go to shul, there's soda bottles over there. The people open up the soda bottle and then they use it for shalashus. And
Yeah, I mean, they do it right in front of the rabbi, and the rabbi does it too. It's just not what's done today.
it's
you know.
first of all, when you open up the soda bottle is really you're not breaking a seal. You basically there's a few little things there that go click 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 and it's open.
No, he explained it's that the cap is connected to a ring below, and now you break that seal, and that ring allows you to reclose it. So that's the actual creation of the kli that allows you to remove and put things back and forth from that.
And there's no makilim in this,
Well, yeah, we saw that Rav Shlomo Zalman,
right?
when we open a can with intent to, you cannot open a can with intent to reuse it. But if your intent is not to remove, but this is not the case of one only intends to open it, dispose of it immediately after removing its contents. And it's the same thing with a bottle. If you open up a soda bottle and you pour everybody drinks on the table and you throw the bottle away, that's Rav Shlomo Zalman, and you're allowed to do that. The Gedorim of the one-time heter is one-time use, throwing it away after you've gotten rid of everything that's inside. Okay, now we go directly to opening cans of drinks. We'll see. Let's move on to another scenario of opening containers on Shabbos, which was briefly mentioned in the Shmir Shabbos in the last source. Is one permitted to open a metal drink can by pulling up on the tab? Based on what we have seen, the Tehillah David would forbid due to dismantling. The Chazon Ish would forbid due to building. But Rav Shlomo Zalman would permit, because we said it's one-time use. However, today, most drink cans are opened by pushing a tab to punch a hole through a scored ring. See, that's what we talked about. It's going to be a psichas yofeh. So maybe that was Walter's thing where you don't do it completely. For a time, the standard opening was a pull tab, in which the hole was created when a person pulled on a tab and tore the designated piece off the can. In more recent decades, this has been replaced by a tab, which is designed to remain in place upon the can and punch the designated piece into the can without detaching it completely. I have no idea what he's talking about. Maybe it's something.
I'll tell you this is actually a law that changed.
Oh, I see.
It
I
used to
see.
be.
Not the part that we used to throw away. There's
Correct.
a part that it now stays. I see.
And that showed up all over highways and streets. And so I believe there's a federal law that prohibits manufacturers from doing that. Now it has to stay inside the can to prevent that.
The halachic considerations surrounding both of these tabs are generally the same. Okay, we'll see what that means. Opening the can involves creating a proper and useful opening. Opening the can by cutting the hole along the scored ring may constitute the malacha of machatech, cutting in a measured manner. with regard to the first issue, we saw above in sources 6 to 8 that one may not form a usable opening on Shabbat. According to some Rishonim, as well as the Shulchan Aruch, cited in source 16, this is true even in the case of a mustaki, right, which was that barrel that had latches. Other Rishonim hold that the prohibition applies only to a whole sturdy vessel, and they would permit creating an opening in a mustaki vessel. What about the issue of cutting along a scored ring? Let us study the two passages from the Gemara Masechta Shabbos. In the first source, the Gemara discusses cutting small pieces of wood, indicating that the malach of cutting applies to cutting to a specific size or measurement. Amar Rav Menashe, Haiman desalit silti, he chops wood strips to be used in a fire. Chayv mishum toichen, it's chayv because of grinding. Amar Rav Ashi, ikabid amishchasa, if he's careful that he's cutting the chips to a specific size. There's another chiyuv, mishum machatech, cutting. So according to Rav Ashi's definition, cutting to a specific size constitutes a malacha. It should be noted that Rav Menashe disputes which malacha applies to chopping wood, but evidently he is assuming that the wood is not being chopped to a specific size. Thus, he seems that he accepts Rav Ashi's definition of machatech. In the following passage, the Gemara indicates that machatech is not limited to cutting to a particular plant measurement. It also applies when the item cut in a specific location, even if the size is inconsequential. Ton Rabbanan, hatoilesh es knaf, you pluck the wing from a bird on Shabbos. V'hakotmo, or you snip the tip of the feather. V'hamorto, or you pull out the threads of the feather. Chayiv shalosh chatos. You're chayiv to bring 3 different chatos. That there's also the snipping the tip of the feather there's a problem of chituch. Kotmo, says Rashi, after you plucked it, you cut the tip. Shehu dak, it's very thin. The roy lanichol bekarvikeses, you could put it into a pillow. And you're chay mishum machatech to kapit lachtochad makom shuroy. You're cutting it to a location, which the location is the part of the feather that's suitable to put in the pillow. So contemporary poskim debate if opening a drink can is forbidden due to forming a usable opening or due to cutting. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach writes in 2 places that there's no prohibition of creating an opening for a disposable vessel or container, even according to Shulchan Aruch's position that making an opening in a mustaki vessel is forbidden. In addition, he argues that most people do not specifically intend to fashion a proper opening when opening such items. Furthermore, in his opinion, since most do not intend for the opening to have a particular size, it does not constitute cutting either. One opens the scored ring similar to the convenience of the provided mechanism. So when Rav Yaakov Yellen tonight told us that we see for the last 40 years that no one is makbid, at least when it comes to a can, it's based on this Shmir Shabbos, who basically permits it. When it comes to dates, in the Mishnah, it was a problem to make a perfect opening. Because you were going to use that opening because you were going to keep that kli and use it for other purposes. But with these soda cans, number one, there's no tircha to open this up. Everybody knows that the can's going to be thrown away in the garbage. You're moving this tab. It's not considered that you made a perfect opening. And not like cutting. And in another place in the Minchas Shlomo, he says, Gamnir lani is daiti, in my humble opinion, when you're opening up a can of soda, you don't have in mind, I'm making a perfect opening. You have in mind to take the soda out. He doesn't care that in the factory they would have made this opening wider or narrower. He's just opening it where it was done. He says it's not connected. And you can see the picture of the tab that remains on. You could see in the footnote 24. You know those pickles that we buy have, but you remove the whole thing though. That doesn't stay on. The whole top comes off.
You still throw the can away.
You still throw
Yeah,
it
yeah.
out,
You take the pickles out and
Not
you throw the
healthy.
can away.
It's not healthy.
Yeah.
Everybody keeps the can.
It was not
Yeah.
used.
Everybody used to, but then
It's
nobody
not
does it
healthy.
anymore.
It's very unhealthy. Right. Now for sure.
By contrast, Rav Yosef Shalom El Yoshev rules that opening drink cans is a violation of cutting. Rav Yoshev opinion cited by the Hilchos Shabbos, who also mentions other examples that are subject to similar disputes between Rav Auerbach and Rav Yoshev concerning maki b'patish machatech, such as opening sugar packets on the perforated line or separating attached yogurt containers from each other. Sakit niyar hamachilat kafit achat shel sukar. He's talking about these paper packages
Like a Splenda.
that, like a Splenda, but they don't have a perforated thing there. Asher yesh brosha nikuv, where there's I guess perforation. Hamasamin et mokam avticha, which tells you where to open it. Yeshomim shasur likro et hasakit b'mokam asimon as of yesh itiru b'zeh. Well, I would say regular Splenda is even better. There's no perforated line
How
there.
about when
You're opening it, you're macalculate, and you throw it away.
Talking about is-
Well, I'm saying that don't tear it on the.
Right, like how about the cheese? That's a big problem. When you open the cheese, then you can reseal
You
it.
can't open the cheese. That's a problem. Right, Susie's mentioning these cheeses that you tear, but then you can reuse it and seal it. That would be you're making a kli. That you'd have to do for Erev Shabbos. No question about that. Then he says, Gvi Lovon Leben, Hamizvakim Zugos. You buy, two yogurts that are held
No, there's
together,
six. There's six. They
or
come-
six, or sometimes you see two that are held together by these plastic things. They're sold in pairs. The korem achila mafridim otam. Before you eat them, you separate them. Zemi zebemokam achritzam yod lekach, and there's like a grid there. Yesha osra afrudu zumi zui mishum yisra makib apati mishum yisra mechatek. V'yeshi tir lafridim with some are matir. Then pachiot shetiyah, drink cans. Sheyesh baroson simon. They have markings there. You pull on a tab. And there's a nice opening. There are those that were machmer to prohibit. But he's talking about Rosh Hashanah, who says it's not a problem. Then Das Hagon Rav Rav Yosef Shalom El Yoshev lost her b'zeh. Mishum de v'fardat agvim zemizeh magia gvil tzurator ritzuya. By separating these yogurt cups, you see the bottom picture where, right? It's like on a dot there. It's like there's a prior perforation there. So you're cutting it in the tzurator ritzuya. It's makib b'patish. You're cutting. Mishum shagvim nechtachim zemizeh b'kav yashom meduyak. But he brings Rosh Hashanah was lahatir b'zeh. V'amar de'ein lochosh mishum isur makib b'patish. B'kivan shetzurat ha'gvim kvar nigmara. These openings have already been finished in the Bebeis HaCharosh, the factory. V'shiritam mechubarim ba'ofen sheyichlu lafridam b'kalud. This connection is a very weak connection. The whole point of it was to separate it. Veins are nikra gavir shein gomer. It's not called like an unfinished cup. Mishum usur mechatech. Because of cutting, Amar of Shlomo Zalman shein lochosh b'zeh. You're not planning to cut a measure or b'kav yosher. The whole point is to separate the two yogurts from each other. You're doing it the easy. The Yalkut Yosef sides with Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and permits opening drink cans, since these cans are usually discarded after use. Nevertheless, he recommends not opening the tabs entirely, like what Walter said, where you sort of open it, but you leave it sort of not such a great opening. So Walter was mechaven to this. The Or L'Tzion writes that one may only open a drink can if one does not open it entirely, since that is not considered a proper opening. And the poskim who are stringent would agree with this also. Rav Yosha would likely still forbid, since the person violates cutting even without fully opening the can. The Menucha Sava, who's a Sephardic posek, holds that one may open it if one pours the drink in another cup, since this too demonstrates that one is not particular to open it in this manner. Well, of course you pour it in another cup. Oh, unless you drink it from the can. See the Chazan Ovadia, where Rav Ovadia Yosef categorically permits opening a can normally. Pachit, shtiyat, a can of soda. Sheyesh bro shakimin tabat that has these pull tabs. Shayidei meshichatan naseh pachit kimin petach l'shtiyah. By pulling on the tab, you make an opening. Mikra din muter leposcha b'Shabbos. He says Mikra din you can do it. Shemacha v'derech lishmos hapachis lacha sheisrok. Nah, you're not going to keep this can after you empty it. Ein b'psicha isra metaken mona. There's no isra of making a kli. But don't open it all the way. Despite the lenient opinions, many contemporary poskim, including Rav Wozner and Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, forbid opening drink cans on Shabbos. See Koivitz Beis HaLevi from Rav Wozner's opinion. Ha'aretz Ba'alocha cites Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky's opinion. Other poskim who forbid opening cans, Rav Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg, Rav Moshe Feinstein, Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank, Rav Nissan Karelitz, many others. Most of these poskim rule stringently, either due to the reasons given by Chazon Ish, or due to concerns for creating an opening. Rav Yisrael Belsky rules in the same way. And this is the Shulchan HaLevi. Ha'im mutar liftoch pachiyot shel soda b'Shabbos. Min haroi shelo liftoch klal petach satum. You shouldn't do any kind of opening that's something that was closed. Shel shum min v'sug bakbuk, any kind of bottle or can, umichal b'Shabbos. Im lo potach me'erev Shabbos, you didn't open it from erev Shabbos. Yachol asos chor b'tachtit hakli. But if you didn't open an erev Shabbos, you make a hole in the bottom of the container.
Yeah, but only if it's a can and you make a hole in the bottom, you drop all the drink.
Yeah, but we're not talking about it.
By a
We're
soda.
not talking about a can of drink. We're talking about a can of other things that you want to open to get the food out, which won't pour out of a small hole.
And oh, never mind.
Okay, I'm going to stop here. We're going to talk about tearing packages like bags of potato chips and cookies. So we'll have bottle caps. It's coming. Very relevant for all of us. Okay, everybody have a great Shabbos. Have a great week.
You will.
Have a good
Well,
week.
thank you.
Well,
will.
too. Hey,
Yeah.
enjoy yourself there in Hong Kong.